just want to express my feelings as one of the youngest person in this parliament, that the pace of which we are borrowing money in this country is alarming.
Okay.
Because this is my generation, and I believe if it is not properly addressed, okay. If it is,
he's the youngest.
I just wanted to make, because so Mr. Chairman, I'm extremely worried if there are ways of which we can manage our finances and our expenditure in this country without borrowing, and that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
I know for sure you didn't report anything about revenue here. And I know for sure many of these bonds you raise, you charge some money, administrative money, and those things are domiciled. And those monies are domiciled in the second fund account in CBN.
Okay.
These are the parts of money you use, but you didn't disclose it in this representation. All I know, the money there in CBN is huge on that line, and there is no full disclosure on this paper. Can you talk about that account?
With borrowing, you are a legislator, so you know the laws more than us. There's fiscal federalism. Okay, but the laws also say for external borrowing, only the federal government can borrow externally. So technically, the federal government borrows. So we come to you for approval, because you even have to give a special resolution for those. So you have the schedule that shows you which state, whether it is Edo State, my state, or it is Imo. So you will know at that point. That's what we always say, and the committee reviews it. The one that is federal government will also be there. The one that is FCT will be there. Okay, so for domestic, because of fiscal federalism, the state governments pass their budget through their own House of Assembly. Okay, so but when they need to borrow, there are two issues, domestic. So external know-how must pass through us. If it is domestic, and they want to issue a bond, the Investment and Securities Act has conditions. Okay, but for us administratively, what do? We review it, because usually they have to give an ISPO, this irrevocable standing payment order that will be deducting from their FAC allocation, because that's how they pay for the debt. Okay, even for the external one, that's how they pay us for that one too. We take it at source. Okay. So what we have before is the debt service, the total debt service, principal plus interest that the state has to pay should not be more than 40% of its revenues. And for most governments, as we know, revenue is the same as FAC. It's only a few states that have significant revenues. So it was 40% until, was it April this year? No, September. So because of so there's a limit. To answer your question, there's 40%. So when they make that request to the minister, it comes to us to evaluate, and we recommend to her, and she decides whether to approve or not. But we also don't, if it was more than 40% like before, we'll say no. We tell them to reduce it, either reduce it, or if it's a total package that they can't break in, we tell them, sorry, we can't do it. So there are rejected projects. Now we reduce it to 20%. Why? Because their revenues have dropped. So even without new borrowing, for some it has exceeded 40%. Not that they did new borrowing, but because revenues has dropped. So there's some check and balance. But I go back to what the Honorable said. If a state government borrows and they do infrastructure that you can see, it is generating revenue, I don't think you should feel bad about it. So it goes back to implementation. What is done with the money? But there's a limit, and it's 20% now.
Your presentations are always detailed to the understanding of the members. Actually, what you are doing for this country, you deserve a recommendation. No matter what, you are a lady, but a very strong lady. Even I could remember during the COVID-19 crisis, most of the civil servants were at home, but you are going around the country doing one thing or the other just to allow the country to develop. So we thank you very much. I want to assure you on behalf of this committee that we are always willing to give you whatever cooperation you need to succeed.